The deception opening scene. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as Ambassador Rick stood before the towering alien delegates. The blue-skinned Alterian Chancellor, Vex, leaned forward with obvious disdain. "Humans," Vex's voice echoed. "To the vast hall. Your species has been in space for barely 2 centuries. You possess only mining ships and basic cargo vessels. The Council has decided humanity will serve as laborers in the Outer Rim territories." Rick kept his expression neutral, though inside he smiled. The other species had no idea what humanity had been building in the dark corners of their solar system. For 50 years, while pretending to struggle with basic space travel, human engineers had been working on something that would change everything. The hidden truth deep in the asteroid belt, hidden behind the largest rock formations, lay humanity's greatest secret. The Titan's Wrath, a supercarrier so massive it could house entire fleets. Captain Tom stood on the bridge, watching his crew of 5,000 prepare for what might be their species' most important moment. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Mike from his station, "the Council's decision just came through. They want us to mine crystals on the Death Worlds." Tom's jaw tightened. The Death Worlds, planets so hostile that most species sent only prisoners there. The Council clearly saw humans as disposable. The alien perspective, meanwhile, on the Alterian homeworld, General Cax reviewed intelligence reports about human capabilities. According to their data, humans had primitive weapons, slow ships, and no real military to speak of. They were perfect for dangerous labor. "These creatures breed quickly and seem hardy," Cax told his staff. "Let them dig in the poison mines. If they survive, good. If not, there are always more." What the aliens didn't know was that human cargo ships had been secretly mapping every military installation, every fleet position, every weakness in their defenses. The mining operations were actually intelligence-gathering missions. The catalyst. Breaking point came when the Council's enforcers attacked a human colony ship carrying families to a new world. The ship, the New Hope, was destroyed without warning, killing 3,000 civilians, including women and children. The message was clear. Humans were property, not people. Rick received the news while still in the Council chamber. His hands shook as he read the report, but his voice remained steady. "We understand the Council's position," he said quietly. "Humanity will comply." But as he left the chamber, Rick activated a hidden transmitter. A simple message went out to every human ship, every hidden base, every sleeper cell throughout. "The galaxy, the children are gone. Wake the giant." The preparation Captain Tom received the activation code aboard the Titan's Wrath. Around him, his bridge crew, men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment, sprang into action. "All hands, this is the captain," Tom's voice echoed through the massive ship. "For 50 years, we've hidden in the shadows while our people were treated as slaves. Today, that ends. Today, the galaxy learns what happens when you threaten human children." The supercarrier began to move, its engines creating gravitational waves that shook nearby asteroids. Hidden compartments opened, revealing fighter bays that could launch 1,000 ships. Weapons systems came online, weapons that used technology the aliens had never seen. The fleet awakens. The Titan's Wrath wasn't alone. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, other ships emerged, destroyers that looked like asteroids, cruisers disguised as space stations, an entire fleet that had been hiding in plain sight. Admiral Lisa, commanding the fleet from her flagship, opened communications with all ships. "Remember," she said, "we're not conquering, we're liberating. Every species under the Council's boot will see that freedom is possible." The final moments, as the human fleet formed up, alien long-range sensors finally detected something massive moving in the Sol system. But their readings made no sense. The energy signatures were off the charts. The Council world, Vex received the first panicked reports. "Impossible," he muttered. "Humans don't have that kind of technology." But deep in space, the Titan's Wrath and her escort fleet were already entering hyperspace, heading for the heart of Galactic Council territory. The last thing the Council's sensors detected was a transmission from the human fleet, not to them, but to every oppressed world in the galaxy. "This is humanity. We're coming. Hold on." The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been playing a very long game, and now the rules were about to change forever. First contact protocol, the Council's shock. The emergency session of the Galactic Council erupted in chaos as the readings came in. Chancellor Vex stared at the holographic display, showing massive energy signatures emerging from the human home system. "This must be a mistake," General Cax insisted, his four eyes blinking rapidly. "Our intelligence shows humans barely understand fusion technology." But the evidence was undeniable. Something huge was moving through space, and it was heading straight for the Council's core worlds. The Titan's Wrath emerges. Captain Tom stood on the bridge of the Supercarrier as they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri system. The Titan's Wrath stretched for miles in every direction, its hull gleaming with armor that seemed to absorb light itself. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Jane, "we're receiving hundreds of panic signals from the system. The alien ships are scrambling to intercept us." Tom smiled grimly. "Let them come. Open a channel to the Council fleet." The view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of an Alterian battleship. Commander Zoll appeared, his blue skin pale with shock. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Council space. Turn back immediately or face destruction." Tom's response was calm and measured. "Commander, this is Captain Tom of the Earth Defense Force. We're not here to destroy anyone. We're here to talk." The first engagement, but the Council fleet wasn't interested in talking. 3 massive Alterian warships, each the size of a city, moved to surround the human vessel. Their weapons charged with energy that could crack planets. "All ships open fire," Commander Zoll ordered. The space around the Titan's Wrath erupted in brilliant flashes as energy beams and plasma torpedoes struck its shields. The human ship barely shuddered. Tom nodded to his weapons officer. "Lieutenant Paul, show them what humanity has learned." The Supercarrier's response was swift and devastating. Weapon systems that had been hidden for decades came online. Particle beams that could slice through any known armor. Missiles that moved faster than the aliens thought possible. In 30 seconds, 1 Alterian warship was drifting dead in space. The other 2 were badly damaged and retreating. "The revelation? Impossible," whispered Commander Zoll as damage reports flooded his bridge. "Their technology, it's centuries ahead of ours." But Tom wasn't finished. "All ships deploy the escort fleet." Space around the Titan's Wrath suddenly filled with smaller vessels. Destroyers, cruisers, and fighters poured out of hidden bays. Each ship moved with precision that spoke of years of training. The Council forces watched in horror as the human fleet spread out in perfect formation. These weren't the clumsy miners they had been dealing with for decades. The message Tom opened a wideband transmission that reached every ship in the system and beyond. "People of the galaxy," his voice carried across the void, "for too long, the Council has ruled through fear and oppression. They told you that resistance was impossible. They told you that freedom was a dream. On dozens of worlds, enslaved species huddled around hidden receivers, listening to words they had never dared hope to hear. Today, humanity stands before you as proof that the Council can be challenged. We offer alliance to all who seek freedom. We offer protection to all who have been oppressed." The Council's response, back on the Council homeworld, emergency meetings erupted in every government building. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly found themselves united in fear. How did we miss this? Demanded Chancellor Vex. How did a primitive species build such a fleet? Ambassador Rick, still present in the chamber, finally allowed himself to smile. You saw what you wanted to see. You believed humans were weak because it was convenient. You never bothered to look deeper. The truth was becoming clear. Every primitive human ship that had visited Council worlds had been gathering intelligence. Every mining operation had been a cover for military reconnaissance. Every diplomatic mission had been preparing for this moment, the spreading word news of the engagement spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On the slave worlds, whispers of hope began to spread. On the Council worlds, panic set in as fleets were recalled to defend core systems. But the Titan's wrath didn't attack civilian targets. Instead, it positioned itself at the edge of the system and waited. Sir, reported Navigation Officer Ben, we're receiving transmission requests from 17 different species. They want to know if our offer of alliance is real. Tom looked out at the stars, thinking of the destroyed colony ship and the families who would never see their new home. Tell them yes. Tell them humanity keeps its promises. The new reality as the first day ended, it was clear that everything had changed. The galaxy's most powerful military force had been revealed as vulnerable. The weakest species had shown themselves to be the strongest. And somewhere in the dark between stars, more human ships were moving, heading for systems where hope had been dead for centuries. The revolution had begun. The Alliance forms unexpected allies. 3 days after the first engagement, the Titan's wrath had become the center of something unprecedented in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species approached the human fleet, their crews desperate for the freedom that had been promised. Captain Tom stood in the main hangar bay as the first alien delegation arrived. The Kalari ambassador, a tall reptilian being named Nex, approached with careful steps. Captain, Nex said in broken but determined English, my people have been slaves for 300 years. The Council forces us to build their weapons. If you truly offer freedom, Tom extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. We keep our promises. But freedom isn't free. Are your people willing to fight for it? Nex's eyes blazed with an inner fire. Captain, we have been waiting for someone like you our entire lives. The growing fleet within a week, the human fleet had grown from 30 ships to over 300. Species that had never trusted each other now worked side by side, united by their hatred of Council oppression. Lieutenant Mike coordinated the communications between the various alien vessels. Sir, the Vorthan Resistance is offering their stealth technology. The Kalari want to share their shield generators. And the Druim. He paused, checking his notes. They're offering something called planet crackers. Tom raised an eyebrow. Planet crackers? Apparently, they're weapons designed to destroy entire worlds. The Council banned them after the Druim Rebellion 50 years ago. We won't need those, Tom said firmly. We're liberating people, not destroying worlds. The Council's desperation on the Council homeworld. Panic had set in completely. Chancellor Vex paced his office while reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Entire systems were declaring independence. Council fleets were defecting to join. The Human Alliance. How many ships do we have left? Vex demanded of General Cax. Less than half our original fleet, Cax admitted reluctantly. The others have either been destroyed or have joined the rebellion. Vex slammed his fist on the desk. Then we use the Omega Protocol. Cax's 4 eyes widened in horror. Sir, that weapon hasn't been tested. It could destroy entire star systems. Better no galaxy than a galaxy we don't control. Vex snarled. Human ingenuity aboard the Titan's wrath. Chief Engineer Dave was working with alien scientists to integrate new technologies. The combination of human creativity and alien knowledge was producing incredible results. Captain, Dave called from the engineering deck. "You need to see this. The Calari shield technology, combined with our power cores. We can now protect entire planets." Tom studied the readouts. "How many planets?" "As many as we need, sir. And that's not all. The Vorthan stealth tech means we can hide fleets the size of moons." It was becoming clear that the Alliance wasn't just about military strength. Different species brought different gifts. Humans provided leadership and determination. The Calari offered defensive technology. The Vorthans had perfected stealth. The Druim understood weapons dot together. They were becoming something the Council had never faced before. The first liberation, the Alliance's first major target, was the mining world of Kepler-7, where thousands of slaves worked in deadly conditions. The planet was defended by a Council fortress that had never been successfully attacked. Admiral Lisa led the assault fleet, using the new combined technologies. Vorthan stealth ships disabled the orbital defenses. Calari shield generators protected the liberation forces. Human tactical planning coordinated the entire operation. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Kepler-7 was free, and 20,000 slaves were liberated. But the real victory came when the freed slaves chose to join the Alliance rather than simply return home. They had seen what cooperation could achieve. The Council's secret weapon deep in the Council's most secure facility. Scientists worked frantically to complete the Omega device. The weapon used dark matter manipulation to create artificial black holes. It had the power to destroy entire solar systems. "How long until it's ready?" General Cax asked the lead scientist, a nervous being named Tor. 3 days, maybe 4. Tor replied, "But sir, the power requirements are enormous. We'll need to drain the energy from 3 planets just to fire it once." Cax nodded grimly. "Do it. The humans and their allies must be stopped, no matter the cost." The warning unknown to the Council, their communications had been compromised weeks ago. Every message, every plan, every secret was being monitored by human intelligence. Lieutenant Jane burst onto the bridge of the Titan's Wrath with urgent news. "Captain, we've intercepted Council communications. They're building something called an Omega device. According to the data, it can destroy entire star systems." Tom felt a chill run down his spine. "How long do we have?" 4 days, maybe less." Tom looked out at the growing fleet of allied ships. Hundreds of species working together, trusting humanity to lead them to freedom. He couldn't let them down. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We're going to end this war before it destroys the galaxy." The final preparation as the Alliance prepared for what might be their final battle. Captain Tom addressed the combined fleet. Representatives from 50 species listened as he spoke. "Tomorrow we face a choice," he said. "We can let fear drive, use to hide, or we can stand together and fight for the future we all deserve." The response was overwhelming. Voices from dozens of species, speaking in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing: "We stand with humanity." The final battle, the race against time, the Alliance fleet moved through hyperspace toward the Council's core system, where the Omega device was being prepared. Captain Tom stood on the bridge of the Titan's Wrath, watching as hundreds of allied ships maintained perfect formation around them. 2 hours until we reach the target," reported Navigation Officer Ben. "Intelligence confirms the weapon will be ready in 3 hours." Tom nodded grimly. They would arrive with just 1 hour to spare. 1 hour to prevent the destruction of entire star systems. Admiral Lisa's voice crackled over the communications. "Tom, the Council fleet is massive. Over 2,000 ships defending their homeworld. We're outnumbered 6 to 1. "Numbers don't matter," Tom replied. "We have something they don't." "What's that?" Tom looked out at the diverse fleet surrounding them. "We have hope." The Council's last Tondo, the Council homeworld. Chancellor Vex watched the approaching fleet on his tactical display. The human alliance had grown beyond his worst nightmares. Species that had been enemies for centuries now fought side by side. "Sir," reported General Cax, "the Omega device is almost ready. Should we fire as soon as they arrive?" Vex hesitated. Using the weapon would destroy not just the human fleet, but also several nearby systems containing billions of Council citizens. But losing control of the galaxy was unthinkable. "Prepare to fire the moment they enter the system," he ordered. "Better to rule over ashes than not rule at all." The battle begins. The Alliance fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. The Titan's Wrath led the charge, followed by hundreds of ships from dozens of species. The sight was magnificent and terrifying. The Council fleet moved to intercept, their massive warships creating a wall of steel and energy. The battle began immediately, with weapons fire lighting up the darkness of space. "All ships engage," Tom commanded. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every free being in the galaxy." The space battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Vorthan stealth ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Kalari shield generators protected entire squadrons. Human tactical coordination turned chaos into precise strikes. The Omega threat deep on the Council homeworld. The Omega device reached full power. The weapon was massive, requiring an entire mountain to house its components. Dark matter swirled in containment fields, ready to be weaponized. "Sir," called Scientist Tor, "the weapon is ready. But I must warn you again, firing this will create a chain reaction. We could destroy everything within 50 light years." General Cax's face was grim. "Do it. Fire now." The weapon began to charge, its energy signature detectable across the system. On the Titan's Wrath, alarms blared as sensors detected the massive power buildup. "Captain," Lieutenant Jane shouted, "the weapon is charging. We have maybe 10 minutes before it fires." Asterisk the desperate Gambit Tom made the hardest decision of his life. All ships, full assault on the planet. Ignore the fleet. We have to stop that weapon. The Alliance fleet broke formation and dove toward the Council homeworld. The planet's surface was protected by massive energy shields, but the combined firepower of hundreds of ships began to overwhelm them. Admiral Lisa led a squadron of destroyers in a suicide run against the shield generators. "This is Lisa to all ships. It's been an honor serving with you." Her ships dove through the defensive fire, their weapons blazing. One by one, they were destroyed, but their sacrifice weakened the planetary shields. The final assault, Captain Tom led the Titan's Wrath in a direct assault on the Omega facility. The Supercarrier's massive guns targeted the mountain housing the weapon, while fighter squadrons cleared the way. "Sir, we're taking heavy damage," reported Lieutenant Mike. "Hull. Breaches on decks 7 through 12. "Keep firing," Tom ordered. "We're almost through." The mountain facility began to collapse under the sustained assault. Deep inside, the Omega device became unstable as its containment systems failed. "The weapon is overloading." Scientist Tor screamed, "We need to evacuate." But it was too late. The device exploded, creating a massive implosion that consumed the entire facility. The chain reaction that would have destroyed star systems was contained within the planet's core. Turning point with the Omega weapon destroyed, the Council fleet began to surrender. Ship after ship powered down their weapons and requested terms. The sight of their ultimate weapon failing had broken their will to fight. Chancellor Vex watched from his command center as his empire crumbled around him. "How?" he whispered. "How did primitive humans defeat us?" Ambassador Rick, who had been secretly coordinating with the human fleet, stepped forward. "Because you never understood what makes humans dangerous. We don't fight for conquest. We fight for freedom." The aftermath of the battle ended with the surrender of the Council fleet. But Tom knew the real work was just beginning. The galaxy needed to be rebuilt, and that would take time. "Open a channel to all ships," he ordered. "This is Captain. Tom to all allied forces. The Council has fallen, but our work isn't done. We have a galaxy to heal." As the Alliance fleet regrouped, representatives from hundreds of species began planning for a new government. One based on cooperation rather than domination. The age of the Council was over. The age of freedom had begun. The new galaxy 6 months. Later, the great assembly hall on the neutral world of Haven buzzed with activity. Representatives from over 300 species sat together, something that would have been impossible under Council rule. Captain Tom, now promoted to Admiral, watched as history was made. The Galactic Federation, announced Speaker Nex, the former Kalari slave who had become their first elected leader, is officially established. No longer will any species rule over another. We are equals under the stars. The cheers echoed through the hall in dozens of languages. But Tom knew the real work was just beginning. The rebuilding across the galaxy, former Council worlds were learning to govern themselves. On Kepler 7, the mining slaves had formed their own government and were sharing their mineral wealth with the Federation. The Vorthans had opened their stealth technology to all member species. The Druim had agreed to help build defensive platforms instead of weapons. Engineer Dave coordinated the massive reconstruction efforts from the Titan's Wrath. "Admiral," he reported, "we've got 12 shipyards online and 30 more under construction. The new Federation fleet should be ready within 2 years. But this wouldn't be a fleet of conquest. The new ships were designed for exploration, defense, and peaceful contact with unknown species." The Council's fate, former Chancellor Vex, stood trial on Haven, facing representatives from every species. His government had oppressed. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy, showing that justice could be achieved without revenge. "I accept responsibility for the Council's crimes," Vex said quietly. "But I ask you to remember that fear drove us to these actions. Fear of losing control, fear of change, fear of species we didn't understand." The court sentenced him to life imprisonment, but also to work on rehabilitation programs for other former Council officials. Even enemies could be redeemed. New discoveries. Without the Council's restrictions on exploration, new wonders were being discovered throughout the galaxy. The Titan's Wrath and her sister ships were leading expeditions to previously forbidden sectors. Lieutenant Jane, now promoted to commander, stood on the bridge as they approached an unknown star system. "Admiral, we're detecting signs of an ancient civilization. The technology readings are off the charts." Tom smiled. "That's what we're here for. Send a message to the Federation. Tell them we've found something amazing." The ruins they discovered belonged to a species that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind knowledge that could benefit everyone. Under the Council, such discoveries would have been hoarded by the ruling class. The human question not. Everyone was happy with humanity's role in the new galaxy. Some species worried that humans would become the new rulers, replacing the Council with their own empire. Ambassador Rick, now serving as humanity's representative to the Federation, addressed these concerns in a historic speech. "We understand your fears," he said, "but humans have no desire to rule over others. We've seen what happens when one species tries to control the galaxy. We're here to serve, not to command." To prove this point, humanity began sharing their most advanced technologies. Freely, the secret shipyards that had built the Titan's Wrath were open to all Federation members. Human military advisors helped other species build their own defenses. The next generation on Earth, children grew up hearing stories of the Great Liberation. But they also learned about the responsibility that came with power. Schools taught cooperation alongside competition, peace alongside strength. Young Captain Sarah, daughter of a veteran from the Liberation Fleet, now commanded her own ship. Her crew included beings from 12 different species, all working together as equals. The older generation fought for freedom, she told her diverse crew. Our job is to make sure it lasts. The galaxy today that Titan's wrath still patrolled. The galaxy, but now as a symbol of protection rather than conquest. Her massive bulk was a reminder that freedom had defenders, and that those who would oppress others would face consequences. Admiral Tom, now graying but still sharp, stood on the bridge that had once been the center of a revolution. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring communications from across the Federation. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Ben, "we're receiving a distress call from the Outer Rim. Unknown ships are attacking a colony." Tom nodded. "Set course and engage. Signal the Federation fleet. We have people to protect." As the great ship turned toward the threat, Tom reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. Species worked together instead of fighting each other. Freedom had taken root in places where it had never existed before. The future. War against the Council had ended, but the mission continued. Every day brought new challenges, new discoveries, new opportunities to build something better. Humanity had proven that even the smallest species could make a difference. They had shown that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that hope was more powerful than fear. The galaxy had trembled when humanity's secret was revealed. Now it thrived because of what that secret had made possible. In the end, the greatest human weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their belief that everyone deserved to be free, and that belief had changed everything. The end.